by way of providing information and news as well, and looking at yourself and your involvement in terms of the Daily Vox and your contribution, Fatima.
I joined the Daily Vox back in. I started the Daily Vox as an intern, and then I like grew through the years and took on more responsibilities. And now I'm a full time journalist, and I also edit the newsletter, our weekly newsletter. And I think the Daily Vox overall has just played a huge role in the South African media space to especially invigorate and allow young people's voices to come through. It came about during a time where during the elections, it was the first elections where the born fees were being allowed to vote. And from then, the Daily Vox is built and has really created a space where young people's issues are spoken about. And it has, more than that, it has allowed many young journalists to come through the ranks and have their voices where maybe mainstream newsrooms haven't given them that space. The Daily Vox has allowed many young journalists to find their voice, including me.
Well, this is encouraging to note, and obviously, as you mentioned, many young people have come through the ranks because there was a vision, there was a clear plan, there was a passion, obviously, for creating a media space for young people in particular. And as you mentioned, way back at the time of the elections. Now, looking at yourself and looking at some of the achievements as far as the Daily Box is concerned, what would some of those be, Fatima?
I think, as I mentioned in the previous, it's not really a personal achievement, but I think just being able to tell people stories, especially if we look at, I'll just look at just generally recently, if we look at students being affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, university students, the fact is we think, okay, we understand the issues, and there's always more issues. And because we place and people know us for telling those stories, we're able to tell. So whether it's students not being able to access NSFAS, whether there's the different dimensions of being able to access funding, we're able to tell those stories. And I think that's one of my personal achievements, but just generally within the organization, being able to amplify the different issues, and which may not be, which are spoken about, but I guess we're able to tell those personal stories, the students behind the issues, and with all the issues.
Yes. Now, obviously, when one looks at the youth and we talk about young people and we talk about the young people being our future, and it's important for young people, obviously, to have some sort of representation, I would say, in the media space, because, when one looks at mainstream media, we know, mainstream media has got a certain philosophy, and they subscribe to a certain ethos as well. When one looks at other forms of media, for instance, when one looks at television, when one looks at your national broadcasters or whoever else, and right across the entire world, when one looks at mainstream media, it's not specifically aimed at a certain group of people. And looking at the Daily Box with a clear focus, with a clear vision in mind, as far as young people are concerned, and obviously bearing in mind that this is our future, and creating that space within the media for young people, Fatima.
And I think, you're speaking of the Daily Vox, but I think if we look at Salam Media and generally digital media has opened up that space for a variety of voices to come through. With the Daily Vox, we concentrate on young people's voices. Salam Media concentrates on the humanitarian journalism side of it, and also amplifying those type of voices. So I think within digital media, there's a unique space we've been given to be able to tackle specific issue, tackle niche audiences perhaps, but look at how they relate to a broader audience. Because we know, even though we look at young people's issues don't only affect young people, whether it's university funding, whether it's climate change, whether it's gender-based violence. These may be issues that young people are speaking about, but it affects the entire society. So we need to listen to what young people are talking about, because that's kind of informs what is affecting the rest of society, and it tells us how we can tackle that as a societal issue.
Yes. Now, also, Fatima, I know you've got a passion for books, and I'm just looking behind you, and you've got stacks of books there in the background, and you've done, a number of interviews with people, with authors, and you've done things like book reviews as well, which you basically write on. Just tell us more about your passion as far as that particular aspect is concerned.
Well, I've always enjoyed writing, and I think at the Daily Vox also I've been given a chance to interview a lot of authors, speak to a lot of interesting people. For example, just a few weeks ago, I spoke to Shabnam Khan, who's a Muslim woman writer as well, who came out with her second book. So I think it's also within my interviewing of authors, I'm able to kind of show my politics of amplifying voices that aren't that those who are representing communities which are smaller and minority communities. And I think that's something that I'm grateful to have at the Daily Vox as well.
No, obviously we know with media it evolves and media changes all the time. Just looking at where the Daily Vox is at this point in time and looking ahead, where would you like to see the Daily Vox go, Fatima?
Well, I would just like to see the Daily Vox grow and remain. And even if I'm not at the Daily Vox in however many years' time, I'd like the Daily Vox to continue being that voice for young people and being able to tell stories and amplified voices. We know that media is in a very difficult situation, that a lot of media organizations, the Daily Vox included, we just try and do things day by day because things are so difficult and the pandemic has obviously exacerbated that. But I hope that the Daily Vox and all media organizations, digital media or whichever platform they are, if they're able to help society grow and move forward, I just hope that those remain and be able to continue.
Well, Fatima, you certainly have made your mark, and that is the reason why we are paying tribute to you as part of season two, paying tribute to Muslim journalists and broadcasters, and for a job, alhamdulillah. Well done. Allah take you from strength to strength and, guide you, protect you as well, and continue with the wonderful work that you have been doing in terms of providing the inspiration to the youth in particular through the Daily Box. So all the best to you, inshallah, and also for the rest of the month of Ramadan. We wish you all the best, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Jazakallah and wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Fatima Moosa joining us this afternoon as part of our tribute to Muslim broadcasters and journalists. The time is just gone, 5 p.m., and we're going to go for a quick air break. Stay with us. We'll be back.